Is there a motion from the board to go out of executive session back into open session?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Okoji?
Here.
Ms. Hancock? Here. Ms. Howard?
Here.
Dr. Hudson?
Here.
Dr. Levin?
Here. Our next item on the agenda is item 8.0, which is action regarding personnel matters discussed in executive session. Is there any motion from the board at this time?
Motion to direct Superintendent Shively to request 40 contract days of unpaid leave over the remainder of his contract, with 20 of those coming in the remainder of the school year 2020-21 and 20 coming in school year 2021 to 22, a motion to approve such leave upon request. The purpose of such leave shall be obtaining professional education regarding race and equity and community engagement.
There's a motion from Dr. Shively for the board to direct there's a motion from Dr. Okoji for the Board of Education to direct Superintendent Shively to request 40 contract days of unpaid leave for the purposes of additional education, training, and community involvement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second from Mary Hunter Hancock. Are there any questions from the board or any comments from the board? Call the roll, please.
Dr. Okoji?
Yes.
Ms. Hancock? Yes. Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Dr. Hudson?
Abstain.
Dr. Levin?
Yes. So with that, that motion passes. We've obviously been through a lot the last couple of months, and to try and cover as much as we could, I'd like to go ahead and read a statement from the board. I apologize for its length. It's 3 pages long, but we wanted to try and address as much as we could in that statement. First of all, thank you to the Paducah Public School community for participating as our community and our school system continue to address a difficult but crucial dialogue about racial relationships, equity, and civic harmony. The members of the Paducah Board of Education strive to enhance the quality of the education available to every student in our system. We recognize that we cannot achieve that without addressing these important issues. Guided by lofty goals in the best interests of the students and community we serve, the board is working to implement a multifaceted approach to address many of the racial and other equitable issues highlighted by the ongoing discussion involving a picture of our superintendent, Dr. Donald Shively. This statement outlines our process and our plan. The image of Dr. Shively that sparked the current dialogue portrays action that is inconsistent with the standards the board established for its students, teachers, and administrators. As many have expressed, such conduct cannot be tolerated if our community is going to continue progressing toward the abolition of both express and implicit racism. The board recognizes that the action portrayed in the image and the image's impact must be addressed. After initially receiving only an oral report regarding the existence of the image, but not the image itself, the board members had their first opportunity to view the actual image simultaneously with the public and the internet community when it was posted on social media on October 20th, 2020. Board members were shocked, hurt, and extremely disappointed to see the entire content of the photograph. The photo is a total contradiction to the vision and mission of the Paducah Public Schools. The board unequivocally agrees that the photo is offensive. In response to the board and community's concerns, the board sought to gather public input on the matter, including through a dedicated email address and a public comment period during the last regular board meeting. Individual board members have had countless conversations with community members during this time. Over the last several weeks, board members have spent many difficult hours listening and evaluating the situation. Every piece of input was considered, and every available option was examined. As appropriate under Kentucky law, the board's conversations regarding this sensitive personnel issue were held in executive session, which permitted the board to have candid discourse about the matter. In addition to the public's input, the board also had to consider Dr. Shively's due process rights that include, 1, that the board must have sufficient legal cause to terminate his contract, and 2, that the Kentucky Commissioner of Education must approve any termination of Dr. Shively's contract upon consideration of his past performance and past evaluations. A failure to do so could have led to costly and perhaps fruitless legal proceedings that would not serve to heal the community or improve outcomes for students. Furthermore, no small part of our consideration was that schools are facing unprecedented logistical challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic. The board concludes that the issue confronting it is whether the school system and its students are better served by allowing Dr. Shively to continue as superintendent, and if so, what additional measures are needed. The board agreed that due consideration must be given to Dr. Shively's performance and commitment to equity over the entirety of his tenure as superintendent. The board believed in February of last year and agrees today that Dr. Shively's performance as superintendent has been above average, if not exemplary, and that the educational experience offered to every pupil in our diverse student population has improved under his leadership. In examining his record, and in further discussions with Dr. Shively, the board remains convinced that Dr. Shively regrets the incident and that his decision-making is not guided by discriminatory motives or racist beliefs. But the board also recognizes that Dr. Shively's leadership has been undermined by an image of him that is inconsistent with our values and principles. The students and others in the community who are offended or disappointed by the picture have legitimate concerns that merit a serious response. Given his achievements to date to advance the learning of all students, the board has determined that Dr. Shively should remain in his current role, but that the board's evaluation of Dr. Shively's performance should focus more closely on Dr. Shively's progress in areas like cultural and racial sensitivity, empathetic communication, keener recognition of implicit bias, and a deeper understanding of issues confronting minority groups. Through additional training and community dialogue, the board believes Dr. Shively will further develop the skills necessary to restore confidence in all the constituencies served by this school system. In order to accomplish training in these areas without burdening the district with its action today, the board has directed Dr. Shively to take 40 unpaid days off between now and June 30th, 2022. Including 20 of those between now and the start of the 2021 school year, to participate in focused learning opportunities identified by the board, the Kentucky Educators Association, local leaders, and others. Importantly, part of this time off will be used by Dr. Shively to learn from and regain the trust of community leaders, parents, students, and teachers through individual and small group meetings. The board will continue to evaluate Dr. Shively's effectiveness as superintendent and his success achieving these goals. To further assure the community that it is working to address equity and diversity issues, members of the board have been in preliminary discussions with the University of Kentucky's Education and Civil Rights Initiative. At future meetings, the board anticipates approving a contract to engage this group, with these efforts funded in part by money saved from Dr. Shively's unpaid time off. This esteemed group, led by Program Chair Dr. Gregory Vincent and Assistant Superintendent Will Black, will facilitate a community-driven racial equity plan for the Paducah Public School District. The goals of this initiative include, but are not limited to, an equity audit, policy review, developing training plans to address growth, improved recruitment and retention of minority educators, as well as establishing a community-based peer review process. The success of this program will depend greatly upon the community's input as we move through this important work in the months ahead. The board will work with community leaders, educators, and administrators across the state to continue to identify opportunities for Dr. Shively, for board members, and others in our school system to participate in educational and other efforts that will allow us all to advance our cultural sensitivity and our cultural communications. The board acknowledges that there is no resolution that would satisfy everyone's concerns and positions. This board reminds those who disagree with the outcome today that the board members were elected to make these difficult decisions, and that in this instance, they did so only after spending hours debating and thoughtfully considering all options. Our board members are concerned citizens who have donated their time and energy, often at significant personal expense, to work diligently for a better school system. Just as the board has engaged in a sincere effort to respond to community concerns, we hope that the community will reward that work by giving this plan a good faith opportunity to succeed. Please recognize that the goal of this decision is unity and a plan that advances the district and community together in shared responsibility for student achievement and for racial harmony. Are there any other comments from the board this time? Okay.
Prepared a statement I'd like to read. First and foremost, I'm committed to the success of each and every child in this district. To our students, our employees, parents or guardians of the Board of Education, in our community, I want to stress that I accept full responsibility for how my horrible and racially insensitive decision to wear blackface has affected and impacted the community at large, especially the students of Paducah Public Schools. Through the dialogue with our African American community over the past several weeks, I've gained a deeper understanding of the hurt that I have created. Both personally and professionally, my actions have caused others severe pain, have created anger towards myself and others, have created issues of trust in me and our school district, and I have created division in our community that we all love. I do not just accept the board decision, I embrace the opportunity to learn and improve as a person, and as a person who has influence on children, adults in this community. This plan provides professional growth to me, which is imperative to ensuring the success of each and every child in our district. Together we have an opportunity to become a model school district for equity, inclusion, and diversity. I hope and pray that others see in me a deep commitment, a commitment from my heart, which is focused on ensuring our students are successful not only in school, but in life. I want to again apologize for my poor judgment by ever thinking that wearing blackface was somehow an acceptable behavior, and I apologize specifically to our African American community for the hurt I have caused by my insensitivity, regardless of how long ago it was done. I apologize to the Board of Education for placing them in this precarious situation to have to deal with my decision. Most of all, I'll apologize to the students and staff of Paducah Public Schools for my actions have not only hurt each of you, but have impacted your view of me as a professional leader. I know the weeks and months ahead will be difficult for many people, including myself. But I want you all to know I am committed to going through this process and becoming a better version of myself to ensure the success of each and every one of our 3,159 students, our 461 employees, in the community that I serve. Thank you.
Are there any other items from the board or any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Move for adjournment by Dr. Okoji. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Howard. No questions from the board. Call the roll, please.
Dr. Kobe?
Yes.
Ms. Hancock? Yes. Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Dr. Hudson?
Yes.
Dr. LeBeau?
Yes. Thank you.